you're joining us for one of our little subclass episodes where we take standard D&D subclasses and we see if we can try to make them Ghibli-esque.
Can we do
Legend of Zelda-like?
Is it possible?
Obojima perfect?
I wonder.
Let's see if we can do it. You are joined by the writers of Obojima, which is a D&D campaign setting inspired by Studio Ghibli and Legend of Zelda for those who don't know. This week's episode, we're doing the Gloomstalker Ranger. Gloomstalker's very dark and mysterious, and Obojima and Studio Ghibli tend to be lots of flowers.
Light and cheerful.
Lots of Totoro.
Yep.
So let's figure out what we can do here.
Lots of baked goods.
Lots of baked goods. So the Gloomstalker are home in the darkest places, wielding magic drawn from the Shadowfell to combat enemies that lurk in darkness.
Okay.
Shadowfell does not exist in Obojima.
Well, we'll work with that. We've had harder challenges. All right, let's just go through some of the quick abilities. Gloomstalker's pretty combat heavy, if I remember correctly. Okay.
But they have Ambusher's Leap, which you get a little speed boost, Dreadful Strike, which deals extra psychic damage, and then Initiative bonus. So you can get that. That's like some of your core abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have extra special Dark Vision. You have proficiency in Wisdom saving throws. You have Stalker's Fury, which lets you deal even more damage with your Dreadful Strike. But then you also get things like Sudden Strike, which make you do another attack against the same person, or Mass Fear, which causes people to be terrified.
Is that like Batman's Fear
feet.
Me?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
What it is. All right.
And then the last thing they get is a Shadowy Dodge, which I guess lets you use your reaction to impose disadvantage on creatures that make attack rolls against you. And whether the attack misses or hits, you teleport.
So your Nightcrawler, bamf.
A lot of teleportation, I'm noticing.
Well,
Hey,
it's a button you can push.
You gotta love the teleport.
You're designing these things.
So I think the biggest question here is all of their things are very combat oriented.
This person works with the darkness.
And they work with the darkness. So I don't think they need to come from a dark location. We don't have to be like, they're in the caves.
Yeah. No.
They're in the caves, Frodo.
They're in the house with you, Frodo.
The letter is coming from the floorboards.
The sending stone is inside.
Yeah, I don't think we need to do that. So instead, I think what is representative in a campaign setting like Obojima, that I guess represents more of the shadowy side of it. And not shadowy as in evil, but shadowy as in like something dark.
I mean, I think we have said in the book that the deeper into the subway system, that things can get kind of weird. Like first stage magic gets kind of funky the deeper you go.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of Underdarky vibe to it. That monsters like to sort of cluster around magic centers.
I think the expectation here is this ranger's like hunting Myconid and illithids and other mind flayers and other things that live in caves.
Dark.
Which in this case, your character could be a spelunker of some sort if you wanted to. I think the real question is what is the source of their magic here? Instead of the Shadow Realm, I guess most rangers, it's nature magic. They're deriving it from the area. But is there a specific thing that we could replace nature magic with to make this character more on brand with spooky shadows?
The spirit realm isn't necessarily spooky shadow, but it's a weird energy that is not well known to Obojimans at large. They know about spirits, but not many Obojimans have been into the spirit realm. But maybe in the spirit realm there's regular spirit energy, but maybe there's sort of like a weirder kind of more eldritch, one might say, that you could tap into. So that could be an angle. Another thing could be that there are demons on Obojima, and there is sort of maybe there's an energy that they feed on. You could say that this ranger
has like a jar or a satchel or a pendant or something that they have captured and bound a demon in.
Ooh.
And then they're kind of just like poking and prodding it to siphon some of its power. So it could be like inside their satchel, they have like a glass container with 1,000, with a wax covered rope that's been tied around it and sealed, and then like a stamp, like a first aid, or not first stage, but like a courier brigade stamp, like an iron seal placed on top of that, a bunch of talismans. And inside of it is like a minor demon. And every time they level up, they could capture another demon, or alternatively, they just are better at harnessing this demon specifically. So that could be kind of interesting to have like this thing that's representative of like a really crazy, scary thing that they've captured.
That's neat. I mean, imagine if in this subclass, I mean, I don't know how much we can tweak with it, but it's like, imagine that part of this is there's like a little mini game that this subclass has where it's like you go out and you find a demon at a various level. Like you could go hunting for them and you might find a really powerful one and you can try to bind it, or if you fail, it might, run away, or it might, do damage to you, or it might give you a curse. Like you could get cursed and then you have to kind of deal with that. But if you succeed, you can put it in a jar and then use its power. And then you can use it to do, to work with shadows and to do all the skills and powers that this
Gloomstalker can do. It's kind of interesting.
You can stalk in Gloom like nobody's business.
Like nobody's business.
Yeah.
I mean, another thing you could do is, I've been thinking about your conversation that we had right before we started this, which is like we were talking about Pose from Legend of Zelda, and just the fact that it's like it's its own thing, right? Like there's no one-to-one of this like Poe energy type thing that exists in other games. I mean, there's probably something similar, but like they've created their own name and it's its own thing. It could just be that this Gloomstalker has this weird magic where it draws on a thing that nobody else really draws on, which is shadows.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's like kind of leaving this irreversible weird thing where it's like I'm consuming shadows from this existence to cast these spells. And it's like there's people that don't have shadows anymore, there's trees that don't produce shade, and it's like interesting. You're like, what does that mean? Why is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? It doesn't feel it doesn't have like an immediate negative effect, but it also is like kind of feels like a not unlimited resource. It's the gasoline of Obojima, right? Like the person who is doing this is clearly pulling into some weird, strange magic, and is kind of stripping this unused but still desired resource from Obojima.
That's really cool. I like that it's neutral. Like if I could take shadow, if I could actually take the stuff of shadow, the absence of light, and use it the way that this subclass does, the stuff itself is neither good nor evil. It is just it's an aspect of nature, and I'm using it in the way I'm going to use it to either I could like take that shadow and put it in somebody's eyes, and then it's like a darkness spell, and their eyes go black, and then everybody kind of creeped out by it, but it's like, no, it's just shadow. It's not good or evil, but maybe the way I'm using it might be.
Yeah. It's a very weird relationship with a thing that you kind of take for granted or don't think about very often.
I mean, the Gloomstalker in Obojima is definitely bringing, is going to creep people out.
I think that's one of the things that's interesting is like some of these subclasses are drawing on things that in Obojima feel fairly dark. Like something that most Obojimans would probably avoid using. So you're that's one of the tricks that we're doing with like exploring these subclasses is how do they really fit? Like I'm just looking at the artwork This ranger has like
it's gonna slay something.
This ranger is ready to kill. They have a crazy looking crossbow, and they're in the midst of what could only be
like a skull,
like a skeletal cat, like Castle Grayskull on crack. You know, it's like a very spooky, dark storyline that this character is telling, and so that's not something that you often see in Obojima.
You think of like Zelda when you're walking around, like the bokoblins they have a giant stone skull that they live inside, and they have a fire outside, and they're doing so. I mean, it's but they're adorable. Like this art is definitely, you know, it's not adorable at all. But if you took something like this and you just pushed it more to Zelda, you might be able to get something.
Yeah, you can find something there. It's just interesting. I would say there's a couple different options, right? Like I like I think there's something there with the demons. I think there's also something there with using shadows as a resource, just as like a strange magic that this ranger subclass has discovered. Yeah. There's also, you know, let's say it is maybe kind of defying nature in some way. Then you have characters like the Fumashiki Ranger, which we've discussed earlier, who kind of bring balance to nature, might be at odds with the Gloomstalker, where they're tracking them. You could imagine like this whole, you know, like a Fumashiki Ranger following behind and going, this whole grove of trees is missing their shade. Yeah. And they have like, you know, they've like hammered nails and they've done all these ceremonies, and like, I'm tracking whoever this person is, because I don't think they realize the danger that they're incurring. Alternatively, you could also have someone like the Clockwork Sorcerer, which we just mentioned, who kind of like is kind of bringing this neutrality into the thing, and maybe they also have an issue with the Gloomstalker Ranger. It's
interesting, like, you know, with Obojima, like we have this sort of general population in the middle of it, but then we have these like fringes, and I think it's like if you start to put these subclasses from D&D in there, you're going to be pushing to the fringes of what Obojima is as far as like, you know, the vibe of it. And this one definitely kind of pushes the vibe. Like you're getting into sort of weird, eldritch, freaky magic that is kind of, you know, on the darker side.
Like maybe to make this not so antagonistic, you could also be like, oh, I'm drawing on shadow, and so I don't strip the land of this resource, have to create my own in like big meaningful ways. So they're doing these specialty things where they're taking like a giant gourd and they're like, you know, submerging it in the darkest parts of the ocean, and they're like, you know, taking them in crab pots later, and, you know, carrying this gourd of you know, pure shadow inside, and they kind of use it as a resource. Or they have to like, maybe a big part of this is also like, you know, creating shadow. It's like, you know, like having the wizard like cast fireball or something. Like you want to have this huge flash of light to produce all the shadow that you can use as a resource.
Could also be that because like shade creates coolness, maybe this wizard or this class has something to do with like ice and temperature change. Yeah. Could be playing with that, which is less sort of aggro, like, you know, cooling things down, or like, I don't know.
With that, Gloomstalker Ranger, there's a couple different options. Yeah. I think there's a handful of things you could play with.
You got your demon option, you got your shadow option.
You get some shadow options, you get some demons. If you decide to use either of these, let us know like which ones your players shift towards. And if you do go with the shadow consumption method, let us know how that plays out, and like what you decide to do as a relationship between the DM and the player and the world around it.
Yeah, I am fascinated to see what people would do with this. This is really a cool one.
That said, you can find Obojima on obojima.com, PDF, as well as D&D Beyond and Alchemy. And you can catch us on YouTube, Discord, Instagram, TikTok, a bunch of other places. Listen to our podcast where we write about Obojima, or listen to more of these where we can hear about other subclasses we Studio Ghibli-fied.
We're going to do them all.
We're doing it all. That said, thank you so much, and we will catch you next time.
Bye-bye.